So since the release of the Raspberry Pi last year, affordable small PCs that can play multimedia content as well as do basic computing and web browsing have become increasingly popular in the market. So recently, a whole bunch of Chinese manufacturers have released these mini Android TV sticks that are capable of accessing the Android's Play Store, downloading apps, and allowing you to run these apps as they would be run in a tablet or on your mobile phone. The benefit to these devices is that they're pretty cheap. They cost about $50 or so, so they're not really expensive in comparison to phones, which can range from $300 to $400 if you go for a high-end phone. So I decided to jump in on the bandwagon and purchased an MK809II. So this is what the mini PC stick looks like. And it has an HDMI port on this end, which can plug directly into your TV. So into the back of the TV where it can be hidden. And this is a great way to convert your dumb TV if you have an older generation TV without the smart TV features built into it, and convert it into a fully capable smart TV. This unit does have wireless in it, but the wireless reception is pretty poor, so I had to purchase Ethernet, a USB to Ethernet adapter to plug into the device in order to connect and browse the internet. So this device, I'll make a review video on it, but I'll just quickly go over the device, its specs. So it has 1 gigabyte of DDR3 memory, and it's running on a Cortex A9 CPU. It is an ARM-based processor, ARM. So that's the same kind of processor that's in your phone. It's not an x86 processor, so don't expect it to run Windows or any operating system of that sort. Some of these sticks are known to run the Linux ARM variation of Linux. So Ubuntu has an ARM variation that I believe you can load it onto this device. And it has an 8 gigabyte internal memory built into it. And this one, I believe in particular, has Bluetooth also built into it. But that's not the purpose of the video. You can search YouTube and find many videos highlighting the specs of this device and what it can do. But what I wanted to cover was something I couldn't find on YouTube, which is how do you go on about rooting this device and installing a custom ROM onto this device. This is important if you want to get the maximum performance from your hardware, because custom ROMs usually also have custom kernels and things of that sort that enable you to overclock your device, as well as trimming down some unnecessary features that the default kernel they may come with. Additionally, these custom kernels and custom ROMs also add additional features and fix bugs that the stock kernel or stock ROM that the device came with might have. So that's what I wanted to do. My phone and everything else that's Android operated, I have loaded custom ROM onto it, and in particular is CyanogenMod, which is widely popular. If you don't know what CyanogenMod is, I recommend you check it out. And the current version for Android is 4.2.2, which translates into CyanogenMod 10.1. Now, although CyanogenMod isn't available to my knowledge for this device, the MK809II in particular, there are other ROMs. One that is really popular with these Android mini PC sticks is the Finless ROM, created by someone by the name of Bob. I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but anyways, so what I'm going to do is run you through on how to install these custom ROMs onto your Android mini PC, mini TV stick. And this will not only allow you to, like I said before, get a better performance from your device, but also enables you to access, allows you to basically gain root access to your device, which is necessary to install some apps such as CPU overclockers and things of that sort. So without much to do, I'm going to start with a tutorial. It's going to be pretty long actually, considering I'm going to cover how to install the SDK and everything from the basic all the way up to flashing the ROM itself. So if you already are familiar with installing the Android SDK and all the drivers that are necessary in order for you to detect the device, then I would skip over to later on. I'll put in the description a timeline of what each part of the video covers. But bear with me, this video is aimed at novice users such as myself, So I'm gonna try to go into detail. Thank you, and yeah, stay tuned. I wanted to make sure you guys understood that flashing a hardware always has its risks, and there's always a chance that you might break your device. So take caution and attempt this procedure at your own risk. I am not responsible for any damage that might be caused to your device as a result of following this video. Although the chances are pretty low that something would happen, there's always, always risk when flashing a device or something. So make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, so while I'm on OS 10, the instructions I will be providing are for a Windows installation, since I did my installation on a Windows computer. So I will be connecting to my Windows computer via a remote desktop connection, which I've already set up. So here's my Windows computer. And the first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that the Windows computer has the Java SDK installed. So we'll go to google.com and type in Java JDK. That's what we want to install. So the first link with Java SE downloads, click on that. And when you scroll down into this website, what we want is this, the JDK. So get the latest JDK that's available. The latest one's right here for us. I'm going to click download, and I will accept the license agreement for the Java SE development kit, the latest one. And once I've done that, then I can go ahead and download the JDK for my appropriate operating system. In this case, it would be Windows 64-bit. Now, I've already installed the Java JDK, so I don't need to install it again. But once you've done downloading it, just go into the installer and press the next button a couple of times until the JDK has successfully installed. It's a pretty basic setup to install the JDK, nothing special required on your part. So right, once that's done, the next step is to install the Android SDK. Now, until you have Java JDK installed into your computer, the Android SDK won't launch, which is why we need the Java development kit in order to install properly the Android SDK. So once again, I'm going to go into Google and type in Android SDK, and we'll click on the Android SDK. And we don't want the ADT bundle. What we want to do is we'll go, if you scroll down on the website, you'll see a link that says download for other platforms. Click on that. And now you have an ADT bundle, which is right here, and an SDK tools only bundle. What we want to install is the SDK tools only bundle. And once again, we don't want to install the exe file. We'll just download the SDK zip. So click on that, agree the license, and download the SDK. And once again, I'll start downloading. Just close folders meanwhile. Okay, and then okay. So once you have the SDK installed, well, it's still downloading. You'll probably once it's done downloading, you want to probably unarchive that, and you'll get a folder. So here's a folder that I got, and inside that folder are all the Android SDK items. So what I did next is I went to my C drive and I created a folder called Android SDK, and within that folder I placed all the files, all these files. I dragged them into the folder, and you can see them right there. Bam. And now what we want to do is we want to run the AVD manager. When we click on that, right, nothing happened. We'll go to platform tools actually. Tools, actually not platform tools, go to tools and under that there should be a Windows batch file called Android. Double click on that and it'll launch the Android SDK manager. So once again, when you click on the Android SDK manager directly, nothing will happen. What we want to do is go into Tools and click on Android. It's a Windows batch file. When you click on that, it'll launch the Android SDK. And from the SDK, what we want to install is the SDK tools, SDK platform tools, as well as the Android support library and the Google USB driver. It is important that you install the Google USB driver because we will need that in order to communicate with our device when we actually plug the device in using a USB port. So once you have all these items checked off, I've already installed these, so I don't need to do them anymore. Check them. Click the Install Packages button, and it'll take you through steps on installing these packages, basically. It's a pretty straightforward procedure, again. And once you've done that, what you'll notice is that you'll have a folder created called Platform Tools. And inside the Platform Tools folder, there'll be a file known as ADB. Now what we want to do is add this file into our system path variable. So to add it as an environmental variable, what we need to do is we need to go into My Computer. Now I'm running on Windows 8, so what I'll do is go into System, or not System. Oh wait, yeah, I can just go into System. My bad. Just go into System, and there's already an option given to me to edit the environment variables, but I'm just going to guide you through it. So System, then Advanced System Settings, and this screen should be similar. If you go to like Windows XP, Windows Vista 7, they all have a pretty similar interface with respect to system properties. Okay, so the environmental variable is a little tab right here that says Environment Variables. And now, be careful when you're editing the environment variables, because if you do mess something up, it can have a detrimental effect on your operating system's performance or functionality. So in the system variables, we want to go next to path and double click on path. Now you'll see that in default the path variable already has items included in it. What we want to do now is we want to include the folder which has the ADB script into this path variable. So in order to add the folder, first we need to know the path to the folder. So I'm going to right click on ADB. Oh, don't want to launch it. So I'll right click on ADB, click Properties, and it tells me the folder path to the ADB script. So I'll right click on that and click Copy and press OK. Now at the end of your path variable, I've already added my source to ADB here, but at the end of the path variable for you, what you'll need to do is enter a semicolon and then paste the path to the ADB folder, the folder that contains ADB, and press OK, press OK, and press OK, and that's it. The Android SDK should be installed as of now. Okay, so the next step is to configure our Android SDK according to the guide that I'm following. This is an excellent guide found on the Vondroids forum and created by a member by the name of Botlin. And in it, what it tells us to do is to add the following line to our Android Win USB.inf file, which we installed as a part of our package through the Android SDK manager in the last step. So we'll navigate to our Android, the USB, Win USB file, which should be contained within, I believe it's under Platform or Tools, or no, Extras was it, sorry. So Extras, Google, USB driver, and this file right here is the .inf file. So Android underscore win USB.inf. So double click on that and it'll load the file up. Now, this file has two sections. One is the google.nt86 and the next section is google.nt-amd64. For me, what I did was underneath both of these sections, I added the code in that was provided in the form. So this code was added by me, and once again, underneath the Google NT-AMD64, once again I included the code. And now I saved this file. And that's all I really needed to do in terms of configuring the Android SDK. Drivers in order to allow our device to communicate with our computer so that we could flash it and put custom ROMs onto the device. So in order to do that, we'll first need to install the PDA.net drivers. And what I found was the drivers that were included as a part of this post didn't work for me. They just wouldn't recognize my device regardless of how many attempts I made. So I had to actually find another website in order to obtain the latest PDA.net drivers. And so I went to this website. I will post all the websites that I'm talking about in the description, so don't worry, copying the URL down or anything. But so I went to this website and clicked this link right here. Download PDANet from here. So I clicked on that, and it came up, brought me to this form, this website, which is junefabrics.com/android/download-old.php. And I downloaded the latest version, which is version 3.50 for all Windows. So once you've downloaded this, basically execute this program and hold up, because we'll need to configure our device in order for it to allow for successful installation of the PDA drivers. So in order to configure the device, go back to your Android device and unplug everything from it. Next, plug in your micro USB cable, the USB 2.0 end of the cable, into your computer's USB 2.0 high speed port. And on the other side, the micro USB end of the cable, plug it into the side of the device. Don't plug it into this input right here, which is the DC input, as this does not allow us to communicate with the computer. Only this port on the side allows us to communicate with the computer. And you might have to actually use another cable, not the one that's provided with the device, as the cable that's provided with the device was pretty shoddy and it causes boot loops and other problems. So try to find another cable. If you have an Android phone, it probably came with a micro USB cable that you can use, a higher quality one, which won't result in boot loops. So plug in the cable into your computer and plug in the other end into the HDMI. You can still keep the stick plugged into the HDMI because you'll actually need to do some stuff on the stick itself in order to actually allow the installation of the PDA drivers. So once the stick is plugged into the screen and you're connected to the computer by the micro USB cable, launch the PDA driver that you downloaded. So it's an exe file. Launch it. And what it'll tell you, actually I'm going to launch it. I'll show you exactly what it does. So I'm just going to go here, new tab, paste and go. So here's the file. Okay, so I'm going to launch it. Yes. Okay, so I can't actually do this since I've already installed the drivers. But what it'll do is it'll tell you to continue, next, and then it'll tell you to actually plug in the device or connect the device to the computer. Now, at this point in time, your device should already be connected to the computer. So what you need to do is you need to go into the settings of the device. So go into the settings panel of the device, and then what you need to do is enable USB debugging. Now, USB debugging is found underneath the developer tools option in the settings for your Android device. So once the developer tools are enabled, and you've enabled the debugging of the device over USB, the next thing you need to do is go over to the option on the device that says USB. Click on the option, and then you'll be presented on the right hand side with a checkmark box that says connect to PC or something of that sort. Click on that and enable it. Once you've connected to the PC, the prompt will go away and it'll continue installing the drivers for the device, and it should successfully finish installing the drivers by itself. There's really nothing you need to do on your end, and that's all it is. That's all you need to do in order to install PDANet drivers for your device. So I'll recap that one more time. Make sure your device is plugged in using not the port over here on the end of it. That's a DC micro USB port, but the port on the right hand side of it, which allows you to communicate with a computer. And the other end of the port, the USB 2.0 port, make sure that's plugged into the computer, which you're installing the PDA.net drivers on. Next, launch the exe setup file and press continue until it prompts you to connect the device. Now once it prompts you to connect the device, what you want to do is go into settings of the Android menu, enable USB debugging, which is found under developers options, and then what you want to do is go into USB and enable connect to computer, which is an option found under the USB menu in the settings panel. And once you've done that, it'll automatically install the PDANet drivers. That's all there is to it. Once you've installed the PDA drivers, what we need to do is to open command prompt. And in command prompt, while your device is plugged in, type and connected to PC, type in adb shell. Well, I think that's it. Let me make sure. Yep, adb shell. That's what we need to type in. And so I don't have the device plugged in at the moment. It says device not found. But if I did have a device plugged in, this should show my MK809 or whatever its code name is. In my case, I had a problem with this. My ADB script did not show what the device was. So in order to fix this, what I did was I downloaded the second link that was included in this folder. So I downloaded the second link. I already have it on my desktop actually. Right, so yes, I downloaded the second link and exported the files on my desktop and called them Android. Now the second link right here has an ADB file that comes with it. So once again, I went to my environmental variables and I deleted my path from the Android SDK installation that led to the ADB script and put in the path to this ADB script that was included as a part of the second link on the form, and that seemed to work fine for me. So I mean, if you're getting no device found after installing your drivers for the PDANet and running the ADB shell script, what you should do is change the path from the Android installation that you have to the ADB script that was found in the link to the folder that contained it. I hope that makes sense. And now the ADB shell should recognize the device. If it doesn't, don't worry. It didn't for me still, but the forming told me to continue on, so I did that regardless. But yeah, that's all you need to do with respect to the environmental variables. You don't really need to touch them anymore, so phew, done with that. Right, so now the steps of rooting the device. If you just wanted to root the device and didn't want to install your custom ROM, The steps are pretty simple. All you have to do is double click on the TP. Well, first of all, you have to edit the TP Spark file, and underneath the portion of the file that says echo installation, let me edit it. So underneath the part that says echo installing super user su, we need to add adb push super user su.apk, which is made pretty clear on the form. And after we've done that, what we need to do is we need to run this file. So to run the file, you just double click on it and it'll run. And so if my device was connected at the moment, what it'll tell me is to press spacebar once the device has rebooted, and the device would reboot at this point in time, and I would press any key. Now, once again, it'll tell me the same thing, and yeah, it'll basically root the device for you. But I don't have a device plugged in, so it's not going to do anything. But that's all there is. Now your device should be rooted. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention is when you run the TP Sparky root tool, it's going to reboot your device on multiple occasions. And every time the device reboots, you have to go to Settings, USB, and connect to PC before pressing the spacebar. Make sure you do this every time the device reboots. Otherwise, the root will fail. Okay, so at this point in the video, if all you wanted to do was root the device, you should be good to go. Your device should be rooted. But if you wanted to install a custom ROM onto your device, bear with me. You're gonna have to follow some more steps. Yay! And install some more drivers on your device. I mean, on your computer. So, in order to prepare for the next couple of steps, first thing you'll need to do is to download the Rockchip batch tool. So once again, I'll include the link to the post. It's on the Von Droid forum, which I found was incredibly helpful in learning how to flash my device. And on the forum, a user by the name of Darren posted the batch tool link. So I just simply downloaded this tool and extracted it to my desktop. It's right here. And so what this tool does is allows our device to enter flash mode. The tool that comes with the Finless ROM doesn't work on our device because it's aimed at another device like a UG802 or something like that. So it'll allow that device to enter flash mode, but it can't let our device enter the flash mode. So what I did was I went to the Finless ROM. I'll include a link to this as well. And I also downloaded that. So I downloaded the A version of the ROM and extracted the folder to my desktop. So this is what the bash tool comes with, all the files the bash tool comes with. And this is what the other file, the ROM, when you extract the ROM itself, the 250 megabyte container, this is what that extraction will reveal. So before we can actually flash, what we need to do is install proper drivers. And we do this by going to the RK batch tool, launching it, and while your device is plugged in, it should show your device right here. This should be like green or something. It'll show it. While it's plugged in, click the switch button. There's no device right now, so it's not going to do anything. But once you click the switch button, the video should go off on your device. So if your device is plugged in, you'll see that the output goes off, and the device, this is completely normal, the device just entered flash mode. So now, make sure that your device is connected to PC before you flash it. Always make sure your device is connected to PC. So now what we need to do is install the drivers. So we'll go to search, system, and device manager. And at this point in time, you'll notice that under like USB devices or something of that sort, there'll be an unknown device with a question mark. So we need to install the drivers for this device in order for it to work properly in the flash mode. And the drivers are actually included with the ROC chip batch tool. So they're right there, the ROC USB driver. And the included drivers for both the x86 as well as the x84, which is 64-bit and 32-bit operating systems. So install whichever one corresponds to your device. So I don't actually have the device over here, but what I would do is right click, then I'll do update software driver, browse my computer for driver, then let me pick a list from a list of drivers, have disk, browse, and as you can see, I've already picked the Windows 7 driver that came with it. So I went to x84, since mine's a 64-bit operating system, Windows 7, and I clicked on the ROC USB driver. And what that did was install the driver for my device. And now your device should no longer pop up as, the unknown device with a question mark. It should pop up as a recognized device. And if that happens, that means you've installed the drivers correctly. So the next step, this is critical. What you need to do is you need to restart your computer as well as restart your device. So do that, and once that's done, what you should do is go back to your device and disable the USB debugging mode, which was found under developer options. You can't flash it if the USB debugging mode is enabled. So disable that, and once again go into the USB tab and connect to PC. Enable the connect to PC. Next, you should launch the ROM flash tool. And right now I don't have a device plugged in, but if the device was plugged in and all the drivers are set up properly, it should say that a device was found right here. Now you can't go and click on reboot to flash mode. Remember what I said. It doesn't allow the MK809II to reboot into the flash mode using this utility. So to reboot into the flash mode, you need to open up the ROC chip batch tool again. Click on that and click switch. And now the device should be in flash mode. Now if you correctly installed your drivers in the last step, using the drivers that are included in the batch tools container, the ROC USB drivers, it should still say the device is found. It should still indicate that. So now what we need to do is we need to go to our ROM utility thingy, click here, and choose the correct kernel. So under Finless ROM, this is all under the folder. That all these files are contained under the folder for Finless ROM when I extracted them. So the flash tool and all the other files are included right into the folder. So don't worry about that. And these drivers that are also included didn't work for me, so that's why I had to include use the drivers that were in the batch tool. But for the kernel and all that, that's located in a folder called the Finless ROM folder. So click on that, and this ROM in particular only came with the 720p kernel and boot. So for the kernel option, I would pick the 720p kernel. For the boot option, I would pick 720p boot. And the next step would be the erase to NAND. And it'll tell you, like, progress indicator will pop up on the right hand side. And it'll tell you when the NAND has been erased completely, successfully. It'll pop up with a message. Once that's done, you can flash the ROM. So just click on flash ROM, and once again it'll go through the steps and it'll show you what step it's on currently. And it'll go ahead and flash the ROM. Once it's done flashing the ROM, your device will reboot automatically, and you'll see that the new custom ROM boot screen is going to show up on the device. And that's all there is to it. Now you have a custom ROM on your device, and enjoy. Yeah, so I've included me flashing a ROM onto my device. So just continue on if you're interested in seeing the procedure and seeing me go through the procedure myself on my device. I'll include it now. So yeah, other than that, the video tutorial should be done now, and I hope it works for you. And if it works for you, please let me know in the comments. If you get an error or something, also let me know in the comments. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to me. It would be really appreciated. And I would like your feedback as well, so please leave a comment. I love feedback, and it tells me what to improve on for my future videos, so it's greatly appreciated. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this tutorial, and yeah, bye for now.